Hello, how is it going? This video, we're going to go through doing local SEO for electricians, how I would go about the process, and what are the primary pieces that we're looking for in order to outrank the competition and win in the local area. So I'm going to go through this kind of looking at some examples, diving into some different things, and then, giving you a kind of a checklist to go through for things that you want to make sure you have in place, whether you're just starting or if you already have a business and you're looking to improve upon it. So with that, let's get started going through some of this. So electrician is an interesting type of business. I think for the most part, right? Businesses, there's not going to be a lot of variety in different ways to say electrician, right? So let's just jump to a main city here while I start this off, and we can continue to dive deeper. But the first thing that you're going to want, right, if you're going to be an electrician, is to have some kind of keyword in your name, right? We can see here electric, electrical, right? Those are going to be in the majority of business names for a reason, because it's going to help you rank for the keyword electrician. So I would start with whatever your business name is, right? Business name, electrical, electrician, something like that. You're going to want to make sure that you get those keywords in that business name, right? To help improve your rankings on Google. Now, with that, for the most part, electrician, right? Let's go through and look at some categories that we can use. So we have electrician, electrical installation service, right? We have, let's see what else we can find here as far as just our primary options. I know there's some more, lighting contractor is a good one. Electric vehicle charging station contractor, if you do that. Otherwise, I think the best thing to always do, you can get something like this. It's called Plepper, right? And Plepper is going to let you see what categories your competitors have. You can go through and make a list, but I think those are going to be most of the primary categories for an electrician. So with that, electrician or electrical installation service are probably your two best categories that you're going to want to use. So you can make a list of those categories that you plan to use and then add them to your Google business profile, with your primary category being most likely electrician or the electrical installation service. So that is kind of our primary start here, is by getting keywords in the name and getting strong, a really good list of options. And if you do other things, you can add those, but don't add things you don't do, and don't try to add too many things. It's going to end up hurting you more than helping. So now let's just really quick talk about the address. You're not going to be able to do much about this, but just understand that if you don't have a location yet, being in the city you want to get searches for is important. If I'm right outside of Phoenix, right in, let's look over here. Let's say I'm in Gila River, just slightly outside of Phoenix, I am going to struggle to rank for keywords with Phoenix electrician and things like that. So understand that the city your address is at is going to make an impact on how much you show up for searches when the city is included. Phoenix electrician, right? Las Vegas electrician, right? Those kind of city specific searches. So it's always important to understand your address, if you have one listed, and how that plays in to your rankings. So now you're going to want to link to your website from your Google Business profile. And remember, the page that you link to on your website, maybe it's your home page, but if you link to a different page, that's going to have an impact as well. And then, this is more just an audit pieces, but reviews and all that. So let's now go through the process here. So what would I be doing now? Okay. We know what we're going to do. We know we're an electrician. We have our name in the business. We have our keywords. We have our categories. The next thing that we want to do, and probably the most important thing we can do, is start pulling together a list of keywords for the business, right? That is going to be the core of everything we do, is the keywords that we use. So there's a few ways to go about this, but I just like to go explore and look at the businesses in my local area, or go look at big businesses in other areas and start to get an idea on their service pages of what they show up for and what they're trying to target. So right off the bat, words that we want to consider. Residential, I don't think people search for that. I don't think it is a term, but I'll just put it in. Commercial, that's a good term, right? So we have electrical contractor, right? We have commercial, okay. All right, that didn't give us a lot of information. So services, yeah, electrical repair. Okay, that's a good service. Okay, let's keep going through here. Let's look at services. So let's just see if we can copy a list here. Some of these are, I don't know if they're going to have any. Ceiling fan installation. Okay, commercial lighting. So lighting related. Let's take out that. Okay, so we're just looking for generally the services, right? And you know your services, but at the same time, well, and there's another way we can do this too, is just by grabbing some images and putting them into something like Chat GPT. There's some more, but generally I think we get the idea here that we want to go through, right, and get just a huge list of services that we can offer and have pages on. And then we're going to check those services against actual, so electrical panel, that's good. We don't have that. Rewiring, that's good. We don't have that. Yeah, lighting installation, I think that's a better way of saying some things we've already looked for. Inspection, that's a great word. Circuit breaker, that's another great word. Emergency, there you go. That's a great word. See, so these guys probably have done some more research here, judging from their services. Okay, so that's great. And let's grab another one of these. Electrical. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, let's grab some of these. So awesome. So I don't know. I don't want to get too hung up here. Let's remove this. Okay, great. All right. So now we have a pretty good list. Like I said, we can come in here and grab our other lists, put them into Chat GPT, have it pull out a bigger list, and then go through those. But I just want to show you generally how to do this and not really have to do every single piece of this. But now what we want to do is we want to figure out what are our target keywords. Now, in this case, right? Phoenix is going to be our city. And we want to first start with our services. So I like to target services, if possible, to our primary city. So if I'm in Phoenix, we're gonna come in here. All right, let's switch this over. I'm gonna come in here and I'm going to grab a keyword, Explorer. I like Ahrefs, but really anything like this will do. I'm gonna go electrical, electrician, electric, and that should give me every keyword that matches these terms. All right, now what I'm going to do is start with a Phoenix. I think if I'm spelling it wrong, yeah, all right, got it. So this is going to give me a really good start as to what am I trying to target, where it's different. So electrician Phoenix, right? That is going to likely be our primary page. So we have this list of keywords. I'm going to move them over. Okay. Now what I want to do is start building out our pages. So the home page, I'm going to be targeting electrician Phoenix. So copy that text, right? So that will be our primary keyword that we want to target with the home page. Now I can go through and see what other keywords can we target. Electrician jobs. So if you wanted to have a jobs page, maybe that's a secondary idea, right? But maybe you want to have a jobs page and now you have a search that you could be targeting for that page. Okay. Electric supply. If you're a supplier, I doubt most electricians are also suppliers or want to be listed as that. Electric light parade. Obviously that's not a, okay. Electrical JATC. I assume that is a company, but we can JATC Phoenix. Okay. Yeah, so that's some kind of school. I'm sure everybody who's an electrician is like, hey, you're an idiot. So electrical supply again, electrician, electrical services. That to me is the same. Electric, okay. Electrician school, Sturgeon Electric, Mr. Electric, electric company, right? Electrical and plumbing. All right. Yeah. So we can keep kind of going down. Electrical repair. Great. There's another one. This is going to be its own thing, right? So now we have a page for a service that we can use. Electrical repair Phoenix, right? Phoenix commercial electric. Awesome. That's going to be that's a great page to make. Okay, electrician, apprenticeship, light, company, that's kind of the same thing. Services, contractor, we could make our own page on that if we want. This is something where like electrical contractor Phoenix, what I would do in this situation is make this the About Us page, electrical contractors in Phoenix, and have your guys, right? And your team and you, right? So that's a good way to use a keyword to target a page that you're going to need anyways, right? So, or electrical contractors, that would be another one. Contractor, wheelchair, electrician, residential. Okay. So we can maybe include that as a secondary keyword somewhere if we want. So that gives you a lot of kind of, here we go, electrical installation, right? So now we're starting to get kind of a feel for how this site is going to be. We can have the homepage be electrician. Then we have like our services, /services, /repair, Electrical repair we target. / commercial, right? / installation. And all of these service pages, right? We start to see, so / homepage, / services, / repair, right? / services, / commercial, / services, / installation. Now, this is what I would do. Depending on, we want to have the word electric or electrical in our slug. So if your website is Phoenix, like let's say John's electricals. I'm going to make this dumb. John's electrical, right? I want to make sure this is not somebody's. There you go. johnselectrical.com. Then I don't need to put electric or electrical in this services. But if I don't have that in my name, then I'd probably do like electrician -services / repair. So I want to try to get the word electrician in there for these pages if possible, if it's not in my domain. So cool. That just gives you a little insight into these slugs. Maybe it's a little bit too advanced, but a slug is basically the words that are in the actual domain URL. Okay. So that is how I'm starting to think about this. Now, with that, I'm going to continue to go through and look for search volume for Phoenix for other searches, right? So let's see what lighting comes up with. Phoenix lighting, outdoor lighting. Maybe you want to have a page for outdoor or landscape lighting, or maybe just outdoor lighting. Storeroom lighting, if you do that, right? Okay, that has search volume. 100 people a month are searching for storeroom lighting in Phoenix. Lighting installation generally, right? Lighting design, if you do that separately, if that's like a, you're targeting people who are trying to plan it out versus people who are installing it. Holiday lighting, right? If you do that. So we can see there's all these different kinds of lighting services that we can break up as well and make pages for those, right? Now let's try ceiling fans. So ceiling fan installation services, boom, we can see all of those, right? So that's great. We want pages on every single one of those. Electric panels. Electric panel repair, electric panels, boom, bunch of searches there. So the way that, if you haven't watched my videos before, but this is how we want to think about SEO. Optimize, meaning get everything up that we need to, and optimize, make sure things are working properly. But then we have content, backlinks, and reviews. Our content, we can pretty much set up our content right from the beginning by going and figuring out what are all our services and then matching those up with what are all the actual searches people make. So we're doing this for Phoenix for all of our service pages. Now we have all of these target keywords that we want to rank for. There's no sense in creating pages for no reason if you can get them to rank for a specific search term. So this is how we build out the structure of the website and all the pages that we want. And this is going to be, I have this down here, but our service pages, okay? Now, after we have that whole list, we know what pages we want to build. Next up, we have our city pages. So now we want to go get keywords for the other cities. So just like we did for Phoenix, right? We can go through and figure out what other cities around Phoenix are getting search volume that we want to target. So I can come and in here, I can go to a map again. We can go to Phoenix. Man, I just, that word, I love doing Phoenix for some reason, but it's like I cannot remember that, how to spell that every time. So we have Glendale, right? And we are going to see electrician searches for Glendale. We're going to have Scottsdale, right? And we're going to see that there's electrician searches for Scottsdale. And I'm going to take this down as far as there is search volume. Does that mean if we have 30, 40 pages potentially on the site that we need to do them all right now? No, we can break those down. But if there's search volume and it's where you're going to go work, then it's a good thing to target at some point. So if I work in Tempe, Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler, if St. John's, Maricopa Colony, Gila Crossing, Goodyear, Litchfield Park, if any of these have searches, I want to target them. And also it goes into all of our services. So if there is search volume for Scottsdale, and let's go back to my sheet. If we have, so we have all our service pages, our About Us page. Now we have city pages, right? If there is Scottsdale, okay, electrician, okay, but now we might have Scottsdale electrical panel installation, house rewiring services, whatever kind of traffic exists, I want to target if it's my customer, right? Now, so I'm not trying to sit around and guess what people are searching. I can find that. And if I do it and people are searching it, I want to show up for it. That's it. It's that easy. So in a city like Phoenix, you're probably going to have a lot of potential services, especially here with an electrician where we've already found 5, 6, 7 completely unique categories of electrician services. And we want to go and research all of those with all of the cities around us and get a really good idea of what people are searching for and what we are going to ultimately be targeting. Okay? So that is how I would go about doing the keyword research and organizing the site and how it plans to look at the end of the day. So, great. City pages, service pages, that all comes off of the keyword. So now there's a few things that I want to include on every page. We want really good call to actions, right? Let's see if we can find somebody who we can mimic a little bit. So here, look, I would move this up a little bit, but we can see that there's, call to actions. Book now, right? We see a lot of these call to actions, right? So that's good. That's something that we want to have. These are, I think, secondary to SEO, but they're part of it, right? Because if I'm getting 100 people to a website every day and there's no way for them to sign up or go do something and you don't get leads, then who cares if people are coming to your site, right? Okay. So content, right? So optimize, we've talked about that. That's getting the business name, getting the keywords. Once we have the keywords now, we can go through and set up the Google Business Profile with the right categories. We can put services in the Google Business Profile. We can start collecting images to put up Google Business Profile, start doing regular posting. These are all going to be super important. Link our website to the Google Business Profile with the primary page, start putting in Q&As. Basically, all of these pieces of the Google Business Profile we want to optimize and then start doing content on, and then getting reviews. Once you're optimized, there's these things we can do like content, right? Like the business posts and putting up images and doing Q&As and monitoring the Google Business Profile. But that to me is 10 to 20% of the game, right? The other 90% of a Google Business Profile game is reviews. Anyone who tells you otherwise is just trying to get you to pay them money for something so that you think there's some other way to do it, but it's not. It's going to come down to reviews. That is the biggest driver of your Google business profile. Now, there's, getting citations and directories. I didn't talk about that. I would go do that. That's part of Optimize. That's not something I can easily see if somebody has done, so I don't have it on this list. But that is something I would go and do. But for the most part, right, Optimize, content, reviews, reviews, reviews. Now, all that content we just created, all these pages are going to send signals to Google Maps about your business that you do these jobs in these cities. Great, that's going to help. But the reviews are going to be the driving factor behind your rankings on Google Maps. Now, with that though, we also have Google Search that we want to rank on, right? I would say 1/3 to 2/3 right now, meaning search, when I have a business that's doing well, they're going to get about 1/3 of their traffic from Google Search, and they're going to get about 2/3 of their traffic and calls from Google Maps. So I like to start with Google Maps, especially if somebody doesn't have a big budget. I like to make sure we're tracking Google Maps really hard and that that's working. But search is not to be left out, because at the end of the day, this is a cost per lead game. If you can get leads for $50 from Maps and $75 from search, okay, and it's going to cost you $100 from LSA ads, and it's going to cost you $150 for PPC, well then paying $2,000 a month or whatever it is to get this third from search is important for you to do. But some businesses need to first build up their map presence and start getting leads and having the budget to then move into search. But don't discount search, which is going to be driven by content that we already built and then backlinks. So backlinks are to search what reviews are to maps. Generally, that's how it's going to work. Do they influence each other? Maybe a little bit, but for the most part, that's how it's going to be broken down. So now we can talk about going and getting backlinks. That's a whole thing, right? But that is going to be the biggest driver long term. So we have a site, right? We have all the content we want. We're targeting keywords on each page, okay? And we want to make sure that we have all these technical structures in place, right? Like, so we have the title here that we should be targeting something. We have these headers, right? But for the most part, at this point, we have a really good structured plan of exactly how we're going to be able to win in the market and dominate. We've optimized our Google business profile and our website with everything we need, which really is going to come down to the keywords we're targeting and creating pages around that. And now we can go start doing the hard part, which is getting reviews, getting backlinks, and doing what we need to do on that end. So that is generally SEO for an electrician and how I would go about winning as an electrician. If you want a copy of this checklist, my checklist here is an audit checklist for the most part. This is for somebody who already has something set up and they want to go through and just compare themselves to what they're doing and what their competitors are doing. But let me finish with that. This game, SEO, is always relative. Should you spend $100 or $1,000 or $500,000 a month on SEO? There is no answer to that question. It's always relative. So don't let yourself exist in a box. Look at what the competitors in your local area are doing and make a plan to beat them based on what they are doing. That is the only way to win. It's all relative. Always, always, always relative. So if you have any more questions, or you want to talk more about doing a SEO for an electrician, you can reach out to me, josh@brightbeamseo.com. If you want any of these checklists or anything that I have, you can reach out to me there. Otherwise, appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.